This is a demonstration of how one would go about solving computer exercise C1.1 on page 18 from chapter 1. So this exercise is going to make use of wage 1 data, and that can be downloaded from the textbook website. I've downloaded all of the data files onto my desktop, so I have them located on my hard drive on my computer. And so I want to go ahead, this particular file, I'm going to open up the wage 1 data. And to do that, I'm going to open up my eViews student version, which is currently open. I will click on the file on the drop-down menu, open, and then over to eViews work file. And now I'm going to search. I'm going to go to where my data files are located, and I know mine are on my desktop in my eViews class folder under data files. And I'll scroll down to find wage 1. And there it is. So we're going to go ahead and open that. Now, the first part of this question says, find the average education level in the sample. So, this is my work file, and it's got a number of different data series, okay? We're going to be looking, in this particular case, at the education, so EDUC data series, as well as the female data series and the wage data series, I believe, later on. But for this part of it, we need to find the average education level. So I am going to double click on the education data series, and that opens up in a new window. It opens up the data. Okay, and if I wanted to look at that, I could play around with that and see the actual data here. So we've got, observation 1, 11 years, observation 2, 12 years, and so forth. So now what I want to do is I want to click on the View tab, and that will enable me to look at some specific items. I want to look at descriptive statistics and tests, and then histogram and stats. And so that gives me a histogram of that data series, and on the right hand side of the screen I see the statistics, and that gives me most of what they're looking for in this particular question. It gives me the mean years of education is 12.6 years of education. The minimum was 0 and the maximum was 18. Alright, so that answers the first part of this question. The second part of question 1 asks for us to find the average hourly wage in the sample. And so we're going to have to go to a new data series, and so I can do a couple things. I can either close out here, or I can on the X box, which I guess I'll do that. There we go. Takes me back to the work file. And so I'm looking for the average hourly wage, which is going to be in the wage series. So I'll double click on wage, and I'll expand that, and let me go ahead and click view. And I have descriptive statistics and histogram and stats. Okay, and so that was asking for the average hourly wage, and let's see what that is. It is $5.90 basically. Okay, it's our mean. Now we're going to look into that a little bit later, but that seems kind of low to us as far as an average wage goes. And the reason for that is this is looking at as of dollars reported in 1996 dollars. Okay, and so what we're going to do is we're going to make use of the internet, and we're going to find some additional information we're going to use. And so the text suggests that we use the Consumer Price Index, okay, and it tells us we can find that on the Economic Report of the President. So let's do this. Let me close out of this series, and I'm going to open up my internet. I'm using Mozilla Firefox, and you can use anything really that you choose. And I am going to go ahead and I'm going to select the Economic Report. I'm going to plug into Google anyway. Economic Report of the President. Oops. And it pops up as I had been looking at this a little bit earlier today. Alright, we'll select the main page. Now, on the left-hand side, you will see that there are downloadable reports and tables, so we're going to select that. And then in the statistical tables, I'm going to go ahead and select 2004. Right. And if I scroll down, you'll notice there are dozens and dozens and dozens of different data tables. And I want to take a look at the price table. B60 is the one I'm going to be using. It's the Consumer Price Index. And I'm going to open that up with Excel. Alright, so this is my table. And down the left-hand side of my table, I'll see the years. Okay, and then in the B column is the CPI for all items. And so if I look in 1976, I'll see that the CPI is 56.9. Okay, and I want to look at this. I want to basically convert this into 2003 dollars. So if I look at, then scroll down and look at 2003, I can see that the CPI was 184. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and take 184, so the 2003 CPI value, divided by the 1976 value, which is 56.9, and that gives me a value of 3.23. And I will take that value and I will multiply it by the hourly wage in 76, excuse me, and that will give me the wage in 2003 dollars, and that works out to $19.06 an hour, which is much more reasonable. So that would be a little bit of an example on how one might go about using the CPI index. All right. And then let's take a look at the last part of this question. The last item 5 asks us how many women are in the data sample. So let me close out of the internet here and go back to my eViews sample, and I am going to look at, I have a female data series here, so let me double click on that to open it up, and I'll expand it here so we can see it in more detail. And what I want you to note here is that this is essentially a dummy variable, and it takes the value of 1 for female and 0 for male. Okay, so we can see that the first couple of observations or values are female, and then we've got several males, and then we're back to a couple of females, and so forth. Okay, now the question asks us how many women in this sample are men. So if we go ahead and click View and Descriptive Statistics and Tests, and then Histogram and Stats, we'll see here that there are 526 observations. Okay, and if we look at the histogram here, we've got somewhere a little less than 280 are males, and 200 and maybe 50 or so are females. All right, and so we want to get probably more specific than that. So let's do this. Let's click on the View icon again, or the View button, excuse me. We'll go to Descriptive Statistics and Tests, and then we will look at the Stats table, okay, which is the second option down. And that gives us a little bit more information. What that does is it tells us the sum. Okay, so this is a helpful one for us. Since we're using a value of 1, that is, equating into the fact that 252 of our observations, or the participants basically, are female, okay, in the sample. And so if we take 526 minus the 252 female, that tells us that, oh goodness, what is that, 274, I guess, are male. And so that would be the way that we could come up with the number of women and men in our sample. All right, and so that ends our demo of computer exercise C1.1 from chapter 1.